there will be a moment where both teams will have to go for that. And this is as to be expected. Um, the big thing why I think Rishi has sort of this advantage um, is mainly because of this the Volerend and the Vlad. I mean, Momo is nice, but it's for sure getting banned here. At least getting completely, it's getting shut down. And I mean, besides that, the roller is very is a solid pickup here. I would say actually the roller is kind of okay here, especially uh with the Mo flank and the Gayals potentially being picked up. The roller can play in those kind of fields. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and you know, I think we always miss Wobbles since he was in the A side. And yeah, we always count it like a game B or game C. So yeah, Wobbles is going against Mr. Rishi. And funny enough, a lot of similar strategies. So again, the fire water Koij coming out here. And of course, whenever you see a Quetzaleno Koij, you gotta pair it up with these neutral temps. So move like Momo on the side of Wobbles, Roder, Valash on the side of Mitsubishi. So similar game plans, a lot of similarities in the temps too. They're both going with the Yukama pickup. Of course, you gotta add those toxic temps to synergize just a bit more. But look at the opening, almost virtually identical opening. Quetzaleno coming in. The only difference though I see, Valash takes double damage from the Quetzaleno, so 100% Mr. Rishi has to be careful. Quetzaleno synergy plus a base jump. I'm almost 99% sure Valash will fall down to those set of attacks. So we'll see. Mr. Rishi could be looking at swapping out that very first turn. But it's aggressive. I don't think this game is going too long, as it definitely seems quite fierce.
My prediction is if Wobbles doesn't get rid of Rolder here, Rolder will be picked up third. There'll be a ban on the Adoraboros, remove the toxic synergies at all, no synergies whatsoever, and it will potentially be essentially this Rolder third pickup. So Momo is banned, gets rid of that, will obviously the Rolder pickup third. And the reason why I thought that Adoraboros would be banned was not only is it the only other toxic temp, but now you've basically opened the floodgates for double mental on the side of Wobbles, and it's not like, you know, Valash is going to kill them by themselves. Unfortunately, this isn't the era of the Valash Gaialis anymore. Valash isn't going to really have fun dancing around at like 40% HP trying to survive a tornado or otherwise, or just, in fact, the fact that the Koish is able to basically almost one-shot him on top of being with a Moflank, it's just a bit too hard for the Valash to get to a point where, you know, C Spikes is a legitimate one-shot threat or a legitimate like clean sweep threat.
Exactly.
On the side of Rishi.
Yeah, and I agree, definitely, because you can't open up with that madness buff as you're saying. So trying to set up this Valash, but what will be a key to Mr. Rishi's success is where can you squeeze in the opening. I mean, if there's anyone we can do it, Mr. Rishi, this is why he is in the finals. But he has just equal as opponent, equal as ferocious opponent staring him down, Mr. Wobbles. So Wobbles picking up Adoraboros, not too shabby there. That's gonna be good against the into the Mashuk and potentially into the Roller too if it has something like Inner Spirit. But let's get it, guys. Hype in the chat. It is time. It is time. We are finally here. Finals time, the Nidrasil Team Cup 3v3 tournament, 1.3 million Pansuns on the line. We got Mr. Rishi representing Tiki and the boys, and then we got Wobbles representing Dibz on Momo. There we go. Let it be known, who are you guys rooting for? We will keep it unbiased over here. We'll just say it how it is. So Valash, as we said before, too much pressure, way too much pressure, does have to retreat for that opener.
Yeah, now loses the Quetzaleno tempo, but Water Cannon was applied. Mashuk actually eats it very nicely. Quetzaleno is thrown down in trade, and it looks like base jump as well on the Mashuk, but Mashuk will take that in kind. Perrier holding out the fort there. So Wobbles perhaps thought that there was going to be a swap, perhaps thought Rolder swap to get the synergy bonus on the Rolder, but this is what Rgisosceles picked up Mashuk for, and the only win attempt to deal with it is, of course, the Barnchi. Now, with Valash still completely healthy, this means that the Barnchi, the swap-in isn't the safest thing in the world. Not yet, at least. And Wobbles, his amount of pressure was softened up. I mean, if you look at the trade, in terms of HP, technically, Rgisosceles actually won that trade. But of course, Wobbles for sure can now redirect the focus fire if he really wants to towards that Koish instead. For sure, Goring should severely punish the fish.
Exactly right. I think so as well. And something to note, just so that we can keep an eye, so an unsynergized Quetzaleno did about 35%. So we'll see if that comes into play a little bit down the road. So we'll keep that number in mind, about 35, a little bit under, 34.8 to be exact. But yeah, let's take a look. So Goring onto the fish, just as you said, Blue, a little over 50%. But the water cannon neutral damage, not enough. So another 35%.
And the tenderness thrown out here on the Koish as well, ignoring the Mo flank because Rgisosceles, what Rgisosceles is trying to get at is basically, I'll kill the Mo flank. I don't need to tenderize it at all.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of wants to save the Koish though. There is a Valash in the back line, but at the worst, you don't have no answers to it. Yukama takes a bit of a chunk out of Giales. Rotor with those stone balls definitely chunks at Giales, but it goes both ways as it usually does here in Temtem. So, you know, a hook kick to the face does not feel good if you're Rotor here. So yeah, we will see. We'll see how it plays out. But so far, so good going into turn 3. Just small, not small, but big damage. Koish under 30%. Move flank right around 30%. But the biggest takeaway so far is that Koish has been going first, right? So another Quetzaleno right here. Move flank drops down. Goring was last turn, so that's not online this turn. So has to be careful. I don't think Wobbles Koish went first, right? I'm kind of remembering a water cannon going before the Leno. But does the water cannon kill here? Unless he swaps in a neutral, which would be the Valash or Rotor.
Ooh. Swap in here. Boros finally comes in. Again, very solid choice here, but let's see if the Valash is swapped in here from Rgisosceles. Actually, Rotor comes in, so unfortunately, not the right swap, at least for this case. Wobble swaps at the Mo flank, so it looks like it'll be just a positioning advantage here with the double mentals on the field. Quetzaleno thrown down. The Barnchi now dropped to lethal range. Koish overexerted for that, assuming that he would go down, but that's not the case. So Koish actually gets away with murder there. And
not too bad, not too bad. Did overexert, but I think Mr. Rishi with that play, he was ready to let go of the fish. So, you know, took away at least almost 70% or 65% about on that Barnchi. So not too shabby. Of course, though, Wobble was really sharp play, bringing out both his mental temps. So Rotor not feeling too good. That is a neutral tem. Rotor does have the neutral within him, so that should be double damage. I don't believe Earth resists mental, if I'm remembering right, but should be some good damage. And Rotor, on the other hand, doesn't have anything. I mean, definitely not a neutral technique. A Earth technique maybe gets the better of Barnchi, but we'll see. Is there a potential better swap? Or you could just take the damage with Rotor, right? You don't really want Yukama or Mashuk to replace you. And Valash, I have a funny feeling Mr. Rishi's saving it for the perfect time. Try to get a madness buff without getting too pressured out. And then a madness buff Valash at the current state of things. Barnchi goes all the way down. Boros might go all the way down. Move flank definitely dies. And then the other guys, Valash definitely does strong against those guys as well. So we'll see. Obviously not so much against the Fire Koish, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's very, very strong in this matchup. So we'll see how Mr. Rishi wants to maneuver that a little down the road. It's still just turn 4 here.
Yeah, the Koish might get sacked here, although I wouldn't be surprised if Rishi wanted to hold on to that. There's still 2 neutral Tems that he can potentially draw from on top of the Quetzaleno priority buff. So it wouldn't be too crazy to hold on to that, and in fact it will. The last swap in would be the one that makes most sense. In fact, that is the case here. So it's up to the roller staying in or not. In fact, it will. It won't. Ukama will come in instead. Actually, hoping that Toxic Ink doesn't come through here, which is fair enough. Double Beta Burst is most likely going to be the case, and that will be the idea. Double Beta Burst punishes the Ukama, but as we all know, Ukama, one of the fastest Tem alive, so can potentially just, with the Valash, burst down some of these Tems. And if we look at the swaps, the only swap that's really safe, well, actually, the Koish and the Gaialis can swap in safely for the Marchi slot, but you know what that means? Madness buff is free. If
Very
Wobbles
true.
lets this go, Valash will get a free Madness buff, and that is, I think, the plan here for Rishi is Madness buff and just C-spikes everything. And this is a very, very good game for Madness buff Valash. 4 Tems on the side of Wobbles do not like having their face caved in by crystals.
Exactly right. So the only thing that puts a little bit of a roadblock there, Adorables has been on the board for 2 turns. Perhaps an Inner Spirit doing double damage on Valash could be good. If a tornado could go before this Ukama too, Ukama won't be seeing the light of day. No Aquatic Whirlwind, no Water Cannon to close things out. So there's a way that Wobbles comes out ahead in this turn. But yeah, just as you said, Blue, if he does get a free Madness buff, that's going to spell pretty much doom for the side of Wobbles. It's almost too much because Scavenger proc is going to get so much value. Even if he falls low, he's just going to be able to recover that 20% every single time. And these Tems are getting low. Adorables being a mental Tem can get really low within just 1 or 2 shots, of course. So we'll see. I mean, going all the way down, it looks like just 10 seconds remaining on that timer here.
Yeah, I'd like to point out as well, plus, the Ukama does have Aquatic Whirlwind. It was swapped in voluntarily.
And of course, and I know Ukama's way faster than Barnchy, so I was just saying, in a world where Barnchy outsped, you know, max speed and no speed on Ukama, then that'll be bad. But yeah, most likely Ukama is faster than Barnchy for sure. But Blue, now's the question. You think Aquatic Whirlwind kills at 35%?
That's a question, isn't it? No, not a lot of Ukamas nowadays run max special attack, and a lot of Barnchies. Buy some time, we will figure it out now.
Yeah, I think it will. Let's see. And it does.
Kill it. In fact, it does. So the Valash will get the Madness buff off, and on top of the fact that the Madness buff is free, it's as free as it can possibly get. As you mentioned, Inner Spirit's the only way to hold this off, but Beta Burst is used instead. Ukama will be traded for that, but that's literally a trade you always want on your Valash. He said, thanks, I'm back to 90%. Now I have C-Spikes, what are you going to do about it? Swap in your Koish? I mean, yes, perhaps, but there's still a ton of pressure. And speaking of a ton of pressure, Koish on his own will come out here. And this is now a bit scary because Quetzalcoatl trade would favor actually Rishi, because C-Spikes should kill off the Moflek if it swaps in.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing here, let's try to look at the speed arrow just in case they're the same speed, but most likely not. But Mr. Rishi has a speed arrow, so if these two are speed tie, since they're the same Tem, but obviously most people are running different speeds on these Tems, but if it does come down, he will get a final attack off plus a C-Spike over here. Actually, that's half damage, right? I don't think water. Yeah. I think that's gonna be half, so not the most ideal. Obviously trying to gun down the Adorable spot, so let's see who's gonna get the heavy hitting Crystal Spike. Move flank.
He gets a Quetzalcoatl first, but the Valash lives. Oh, the C-Spike. What a shot. So just a massive middle finger to that Quetzalcoatl. Says, you try to kill me, you're not even get the chance. Hypnosis shuts down any potential threat for the Koish as well, so it's just not going to be able to do anything. You swap in Gaialis, is going to get Quetzalcoatl in the face. You swap in Adoraboros, you still get Quetzalcoatl into a C-Spike.
Exactly.
Like, there's nothing. There's just such a severe lack of protection now. The Koish is asleep. Obviously, you can wake it up by hitting it, but Quetzalcoatl is too fast to go before. And I'd like to point out, The Valash lived because of the -1 attack. It literally
Yeah,
lived because
literally Mashuk saving the day, guys. Tenderness Mashuk, the new meta, actually not new. It's been displayed very time and time again. And literally this match would be completely different if that Valash would have dropped down and 33% was still on this attack. His match would have easily gone into Wobbles' favor, but with Valash surviving, with Hypnosis going off on Wobbles' Koij, I think it's all said and done. I mean, even if Gialis comes out, just like you said, Blue, Quetzaleno with the neutral synergy, that's going to bring it down. Crystal Spike does the remainder, and you can do the exact same play for the Adoraboros. So yeah, I think this one is all wrapped up. Mr. Rishi representing Tiki and the boys should be getting game number 1, but as we said before, this is a best of 5 series. We want to see it go down in epic fashion, so we'll see. Gialis does come out, so let's see what Mr. Rishi, we're thinking is rather straightforward, but these guys are the ones on the board.
Oh, the Gialis gets one shot. I was about to say, if it gets one shot, then the T-Spike just goes straight into the... Oh, Valash's wrist! Oh, that's so big. Because now C-Spikes is guaranteed on the Adoraboros if he wants it. The question is, does he think Madness buff one-shots here on the Adoraboros? That might be a little bit too greedy, but it's still a roller and a
It's likely. But that was big. I mean, Synergy Master adding so much. Let's see if C-Spike is enough. Madness buff +2, not yet. But Valash Joe goes down here. Koij overexerted, so... it might be close, but with all the temps still remaining, and there it goes. That is the inner sphere. That's what Wobbles had up his sleeve the whole time.
Absolutely. But now that there's still a Roller and a Mashuk, obviously Beta Burst is still potential, but the Water Cannon and there's still a Rushiol as well to slowly chip away at the Koish. I'm not sure if Wobbles has the damage. Of course, Adoraboros is dying here for sure, but
we'll
it's all about the damage.
I think it might be the other way. I don't know if Mr. Rishi has the damage. So Goring, there it goes. I was wondering how to take down Adoraboros. Goring was the answer, but we saw it right there. I mean, Wobbles has against Mashuk. You're right, Blue. Against Mashuk is gonna be another issue, of course.
Yeah, enough perfect jabs and I mean another tenderness Twin Beat to save up stamina, but this is what I was talking about. Rushiol does way too much. Stone Ball does neutral damage, and neutral damage is more than enough, and that is what I'm referring to. Rishi takes game 1 against Wobbles, and I'd like to say I didn't call that at the start before the draft. I said, there we go. And for this one, I am fairly confident we're gonna make it to a game 4. And judging from these teams, despair.
What are the odds, Blue? It's so crazy. So all the A teams, at least for this final and a couple of the top cut, they had the fire Koij, and now in the B teams they have the electric Koij. So maybe in terms of tier list, fire Koij is at the top, electric Koij is at the bottom. So maybe some kind of strategy like that. But wow, God of Despair really respecting that Koij there, and I'm trying to wonder why. Oh, I guess the water technique in there, right? More than the electric.
I was gonna point out as well, God of Despair has the incredibly ludicrous advantage of having a fire tem and a bunch of neutrals against, nature tems. And even though yes, Arkham has a Raiken and a Yowler as well, if that Raiken stayed on the God of Despair side, which is obviously banned out, this would have been such a problem. On top of that, there's still a Wolfie on both sides, so it's not like the Raiken is gonna go crazy on Arkham's side. I think if anything, his game plan will be to buff up the Volarin and the Yowler here, but I could be wrong, definitely. But there's just so much raw damage on the side of God of Despair, which concerns me, because if the Kinu goes down, you have no way to touch the big abominable snowman and the giant gorilla anymore.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he doesn't have, I mean, we saw this before with God. He went up against Tuppa. Tuppa had 3 mental tems, There's no mental Tems on the side of Arkham's team, so yeah, these neutral Tems, the Scunch, the Yowler, the Size Munch, of course Size Munch not being neutral but melee, could get the better. I mean, in terms of Size Munch, as you said, Blue, a lot of nature presence, so not too worried about Size Munch, but Scunch and Yowler, a different story, of course, and that's exactly what God elected to go with for that second slot. I think it's pretty strong. But yeah, I mean, facing off against Kinu, that's almost like a safety pick. You know, not going to use Scunch in the opener. Just guarantee that you have it on your team, because there's no way a +4 or 4x damage wants to stay in. So I think he just picked it to guarantee to have it on the squad.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Arkham trying to decide what the second pick is. He doesn't have any water Tems. He doesn't have another mental Tem. So I guess a good neutral Yowler doesn't feel that bad. Maybe Volerin as well. But Volerin doesn't really like going into Scunch. But hey, Volerin it is. Volerin it is, always a good pick. And let's see, God Despair. Oh, you didn't pick up the Yowler. The Yowler will get the ban. And yeah, usually people more scared of Saku and Cernif, but with all that fire pressure, as you mentioned, not too scared of these nature Tems, which rightfully so. Arkham Knight thinking about banning Size Munch. Interesting. I don't know, with Cernif in the back line, with Wolfie in the back line. Alright. So does go, okay, both Yowlers. No Yowlers here in the finals.
No Eskimos allowed here. So God of Despair still has the option of the Gaialis and does pick it up. And there's still obviously the Electric Koish. It's not like the Electric Koish is gonna do insane amounts of damage here, but being Electric Koish as is should be in general okay. It does take double damage from nature, which is kind of the problem, of course. So maybe still kind of well, unfortunately kind of can't really count on that at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see. So Riken, last Temtem recruited for Arkham Knight. God of Despair does have an answer to that Riken, but a little bit scary to the rest of the team. Toxic pressure here, nature pressure here. So it does feel a bit wrong, but hey, I think Size Munch would be even more of a risky pick there. Of course, both of these Tems good against Riken. Size Munch decent against Wolfie as well. But I think Koish feels alright. Electro Punch can get the better of Volerin as well too. So we'll see.
Yeah, this Arkham going, vetoing the Saku is a bit interesting there. So it picks up the Electro Koish instead of the Size Munch. More confident in the Electro Koish, I guess. Also to deal with a Riken, of course. But Size Munch had rock bottom, so either way, had a way to deal with a Riken. Just seems as though that he would rather have the Sapphire here. The big thing about Sapphire is that not only does he have Quetzaleno, you can heat up as a Sapphire, which means that if you wanted to, you could go all out and obliterate something. The big thing for Arkham Knight here is that he has to swap out the Kinu. The Kinu's gonna get one shot here.
Yeah. Oh, you think with the Quetzaleno goes all the way down with just one attack? I mean, you know, I thought it was the Scunch running away scared, but you're right. Synergy going 3 prio on the Sapphire. I think it might be close. I feel like someone like Arkham might have teched for it, but who knows? Maybe not running a lot of defense on the Kinu, so it could. I mean, no defense Kinu, of course it gets one shot, but something tells me that it could perhaps live by, like, you know, 1, 2, 3 HP. But here it is, the buttons have been clicked. Arkham Knight does retreat the Kinu, so what's eating this? Of course, no better option than the Riken.
Oh, he reads the Kinu swap, so a heat up is now available. And yes, the Feather Gatling is traded, but okay, I will say anything in that Volerin spot is getting insta-given. The Quetzaleno now does double damage. Wolfie could probably survive that, but it's not surviving a a Oshidashi plus a Quetzalero, right? Not if God of Despair just doubles up on that slot, nothing survives that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, luckily for Arkham Knight, he has +1 speed, thankfully for the aerobic Volrun, so is going to be able to get off a HKS at the worst. I mean, I don't think you want to switch into Wolfie, Cerny, or Kinu in this situation when a +2 attack Sapphire is staring you down. I think you might have to bite the bullet with Volrun here, get a final HKS, bring him down, and hope the Raiken, I know it's half effective damage, hope that it does enough to bring it down, because if this Sapphire lives another turn, that might be a bit too destructive. But we'll find out. Already looking interesting though. That heat up was beautiful, as you said, Blue, reading the Kinu swap out. So good stuff.
Arkham Knight swapping out the Raiken as well understands that it's probably not going to be the only way to deal with this. Kinu coming in to hold the line here. He knows that the Volrun is probably going to get doubled up here. Trying to survive is the name of the game. HKS is going to get thrown down as well on the Sapphire. The more damage on the Sapphire, the better. He one-shot the Sapphire. He just did it. He just got it. The Sapphire didn't even get a Quetzalero off. That is so big. Oh huge. My god. He just gets rid of it. The Savage Suplex is FA. Sweet FA.
Wow, so incredible stuff. I didn't think the Volrun at +1 speed had enough, but of course that Sapphire is probably max speed, max attack. Forget about the HP on the Sapphire. So insane stuff. Arkham Knight taking advantage of that aerobic speed, and yeah, not insta-giving, but you know, at 60-70% going all the way down, and got no value, no attacks off with the +2. So Arkham looking perfectly fine in terms of HP. That was a big swing. That was a big swing for Arkham Knight. But of course, it's just turn 3. A lot of games still left. But that was big. Definitely big. Good stuff for Arkham Knight. Let's see how God of Despair wants to turn this back around. And you know, even Arkham Knight read the suplex going in. You would think the suplex would have doubled in on Volrun. Just in case, but no, he wanted to split the damage there. So yeah, beautifully done from Arkham Knight so far. And now the Volrun chooses to retreat for the Cerny. Okay, trying to pressure out this Koish.
Absolutely, and now perfect jab. It's doing the best it can, but it's staying in for the Electro Punch set up, and it doesn't kill. Stonewall is used on the Cerny. Did not expect this Scunch to stay in, obviously, because of the Kinu one-shotting it pretty much, but Electro Punch did its best, but it just did not do enough. If only the Scunch was also a digital.
Yeah, very true. And what do you mean? It would have gave it a buff. Does it have synergy with the digital?
Electro Punch is a synergy bonus with digital Temtem. Unfortunately, that means it can only synergize with itself, which is not allowed. Of course.
Yeah, not possible. Not in a competitive setting. Maybe in a casual setting. For a future, you know, Koish Cup that we mentioned in the past. But yeah, so close. That would have been pretty big. No stone wall on the Cerny. Yeah, that would have definitely made an impact there. But Kinu surviving by the smallest of HP, 2.1. At 2.1, you could barely see it. But there it goes, enough to get a stonewall on the Cerny, and Cerny loves that. Loves to get +2 defense, +1 special.
Ninja Jutsu expended to simply stop the Kinu from beta bursting the Scunch. I mean, it's hard to say if that was value or not. It's just the problem is God of Despair. Losing that Sapphire so fast, I'm sure, is so heartbreaking. The Hypnosis is going to be thrown down as well. Certainly will get put to sleep. But I have a strange feeling that the Wolfie is going to come in here. Or, I mean, yeah, the Wolfie with the plague shuts down the Nesla, and it's not like the Scunch is gonna one-shot the Wolfie unless, I mean, I keep saying one shot, right? But it's just really rough. There's just a lack of damage here. Electro Punch is actually not possible.
Yeah, this is a bit risky. Of course, maybe Volrun doesn't feel threatened. That's +2. You know, that's the beautiful part about an aerobic. You always feel comfortable when you know your Tem goes first all the time and makes your life a bit easier. But just like that, Wobbles. Wait.
Speedrun. They're all ready. They've already prepared.
But here, Blue, I'll leave it to you. Just 30 seconds. I'll be right back, guys.
All good. Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 3 of the finals of the Nidrasil Cup. The three-headed snake. Yes. Ironically enough, I haven't seen much Nidrasils, I will say. Maybe I'm just spectating the wrong guys at the wrong times. But judging from both teams, it looks like we will have a marathon on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly from the side of Zeuxo with the Kinu, of course, and the Golder with the Rgisosceles versus the Double Trouble, the 2 Vine and the 2 Rock. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes about. The winged creatures, very, very solid picks. Solid choices, at least, for Rgsosceles. Also as a Grumper to deal with that Rgisosceles, of course. Both players actually have a Naga, so this will be interesting. This is a disappointing tournament for Nidrasil, perhaps. But definitely not a disappointing tournament overall. We've seen some great matches so far up until this point. And I predicted it, guys. We can have a game 4 for sure, as both teams, very solid stuff, especially with some great outplays, some great surprises from both ends. Saku picked up here first for Zeuxo as we come through. And I was wondering, guys, what happens on the game 4? Both players, I believe, if I remember correctly, game 4 and game 5, both teams get to select the player that will be playing the game. So that'll be interesting stuff to see. So opening here with the Saku Kinu versus the 2 Vine Grumper. I actually really like this 2 Vine Grumper opening against the Saku and the Kinu, because although they're both nature tems, neither of them have a nature threat. So solid stuff here.
Definitely. And yeah, Blue, to answer your question, how it works, so the team that recently lost, since they're able, pick blue side or orange side, I thought it'd be fair just to let them pick what letter they want to send out. So keeping everything locked, just so it's more of a best of 3 rather than kind of just random opponents. But yeah, so they get to decide on what letter they want to send out. So either they want to send out A again, B again, or C again. And then if it goes to game 5, the losing team from game 4 gets to decide what letter they want to send out as well. So we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But yeah, Zeuxo going with some tanky boys, and Rgisosceles is going with some pressure. So 2 Vine really gets the chunking onto Kinu, and it does really well. I see why he first picked it. Feather Gatling does wonders against Calibus, against Golder. So Rgis definitely needed this 2 Vine. Without it, those two guys get a little bit too crazy.
And the big thing as well is that 2 Vine is incredibly good against Kinu. I mean, remember the good old days where 2 Vine was a lot more meta. You would hear the brat brat, and the Kinu would just
well, Blue, we gotta hear the brat brat today too. We gotta see. But you know what? It's so interesting to me because there's not the most variety of tems as we're still in early access, going along into 1.0 release. But yeah, it almost seems like a lot of parallels. Like, what are the odds that both of letter C's have a 2 Rock on their team? I guess that's kind of likely. Maybe I'm just splitting hairs or something.
I think the theory is that you're running out of ways to deal with certain strategies, right? You need something to deal with Fire Tem. Obviously, you can't use Grumper anymore. You can't use Rolder anymore. So the only option left is 2 Rock. And obviously, for Rgisosceles' side, I think that was the same idea. Both teams have expended their Fire Tems and are down to basically anti-Fire Tems, just in case Game 2 had no Fire or otherwise. So there's more of a countermeasure safety rather than the strength of a Tem. But we'll see how Game 3 plays out.
Exactly right. Game number 3 of our finals, guys. Of course, there's still one more. The person that wins the next game will be at match point. Just one game to win. They will be crowned our champions for the Nid Cup. And just a little off topic, there we go. Rgisosceles picking up the mascot of the tournament. Nidrasil, we'll see how well it does. Fairly good against, of course, Saku and Nagais. but the other one's looking a bit rough. But Kinu immediately retreating, and there it goes, the good old 2-Rock coming out for the Kinu. CPG,
Yes,
oh, thinking the Kinu was gonna stay in. Okay.
2-Rock will take this in kind, and the Thunder Strike makes sure to secure that damage. Lightful Sap on the Saku as well, just in case the damage went that way. But of course, nobody attacks Saku first. It's just insanity. But Rgisosceles does do some solid work against the 2-Rock, and the Feather Gatling. I mean, either way, 2-Vine will not be able to output enough damage to threaten 2-Rock lethally. Thunder Strike did not do enough damage to kill the to put 2-Rock into lethal either. So, in any case, here Rgisosceles most likely will swap out to perhaps a Grandpa. Would be a very safe swap in here.
I mean,
actually, yeah.
At the same time, he's not too pressured, right? Saku not gonna do anything to Grumper or 2-Vine. Maybe Toxic Spores here and there, just little by little. Chamomile's online, so not on the Grumper. And at the same time, 2-Rock, I mean, Stone Ball, Feather Gatling, I guess good damage on the Grumper, but not insanity. I mean, I guess over 50%, but I think another double up. I know it could be close, like Feather Gatling, half damage, but okay, going CPG just in case of the swap out. Rockfall does come out, and yeah, that was some good damage on the Grumper, but I think it came at the cost, as I was just getting to. 2-Rock goes down here, so beautiful stuff from Rgisosceles. Getting that 1-Tem advantage nice and early turn 2. That's what you want to see when you're playing in these competitive games.
Yeah, trading solidly. 2-Rock gets sacrificed there in that position. A big thing I wanted to say was that yes, CPG was sort of just in case something swapped out, but the another factor here is that may actually affect the 2-Vine long term, because now another CPG expends all of its stamina. If you had Feather Gatling previously, you'd have at least 3 Feather Gatlings available, or at least Feather Gatling into CPG safely. But now I don't think you can really. You don't have the room to basically, change the efficiency there.
And Blue, we might have to keep a close eye on this 2-Vine, because if he keeps getting carried away, look at his name, Blue. It's 2 crime. We gotta call the police. We gotta get this man's arrested, getting a little too out of hand. But we'll see. I mean, this War Drum, of course, works so well on 2 crime here. But yeah, before we call FBI, let's see what it goes down. Maybe Zeuxo will be the FBI to take it down. But Kinu coming in, coming out, doing what Kinu does best.
Absolutely. Feather Gatling is used this time though, and as mentioned, no longer TPG available. So although that looked like an amazing read, in fact he didn't have enough stamina to CPG anyway, so Feather Gatling was the best he could do. Thunder Strike also comes down, so unfortunately it feels more like Zeuxo outplayed himself, thinking that RG would be willing to overexert to land a CPG, but that's just not the case, unfortunately, for him.
I don't think he even had to overexert. He would go exactly down to 0. Most people tech their stamina at 64, which is exactly 3 CPGs back to back. So you wouldn't have overexerted. But yeah, either way, I mean, Feather Gatling was just a little bit a little bit more how do you say it? I guess more value, of course, more value. CPG still would have done good damage, but there it goes, catching the Golder on the entry. And you know what? Rgisosceles pedal to the metal, non-stop pressure this entire time. 3 turns in a row, no swaps, just attack, attack, attack. And you could really tell, 2-Rock all the way down, Golder under 50. So yeah, Rgis relentless with the pressure onto Zeuxo. Let's see if Zeuxo could try to slow things down against Rgis, but so far so good on Rgisosceles' corner. But still a lot of tems, a lot of good tems still remaining. But same thing on Rgis' side. We haven't seen any of those backline tems as well.
Yeah, and the big thing I'm really looking at here is that RG is about to run out of Chamomile immunity protection. So most likely we might see a double swap here for Rgisosceles, get Grandpa on Mashuk or Grandpa Nidrasil out here. And it's perfectly fine. And yes, there's Saku with the Tornado and all of that. But if you pull out a Nidrasil and a Grandpa, you're able to not only pressure the right slot, but you have a Toxic as well to punish the Saku, and then you can just double swap back in with the Grandpa later. So Grandpa does, the Grumper later. Grandpa does come in, but the 2-Vine stays in. In fact, overexerts to try and do as much damage onto the 2-Vine. On the Golder. Windburst is forced onto the Grandpa, but not the case there. Doesn't kill. And so the Harmful Lick as well, doing as much damage as possible. So the 2-Vine sacrifices itself to get that down, and perhaps a Grumper swap here might happen. But now no Crystal Tem against the Kinu.
Yeah, and I guess he has a Toxic Ink from the Nidrasil. Kinu, not the most important to try. I mean, it's always nice to take down the Kinu, but Kinu itself, by himself, isn't the most problematic against your Tems, but obviously it enables the problems, of course. But yeah, I'm wondering what Rgisosceles wants to bring out. 2 Crime finally getting down there. So well done for Zeuxo bringing them down. But yeah, I think that was well worth. You bring Golder down into that Windburst territory. So a simple Windburst from this Grandpa, which should be the fastest Tem on the current board, will bring the Golder down. So it makes Zeuxo have to swap one more time. I mean, Kinu, most likely the target there, make it +3/+3. That seems like a straightforward line of play. But Rgisosceles deciding on what he wants, it's risky, right? You can bring out Nidrasil for some heavy Toxic Inks onto Saku, but it goes both ways. As we keep mentioning, a tornado really hurts it. So there it goes. Grumper or not ETE coming back in. Chamomile activated one more time. And you know what, Blue? This knockout is in the back line. Doesn't feel all that great, but we'll see how much impact it makes in this game. Well, there it goes. Kinu, as we mentioned, getting it up to +3/+3. So is Saku gonna be carrying Zeuxo to success? You're gonna have to wait and see. But this Saku getting out of hand.
Stonewall just to apply. So just defending the the Grandpa a little bit more. But the thing is that Toxic Spores do not care about your feelings. And so defenses like that, unfortunately, they're not going to stay very long. And for the most part, again, RG is sort of lacking the ways to deal with Saku. And Saku's just getting stronger for the most part. I'm not sure if he will be able to deal with Saku far down the line. It just seems to be a bit of a struggle here for his side.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Blue. There's no direct answer. The only direct answer is Nidrasil, and here it goes. Jake the Nidrasil. There we go, repping for the Nidrasil Cup here, but let's see how much work, and that's a good play there. Hypno the Saku so that he's not a heavy hit on the Nidrasil. And that's a good play as well. Just good plays all around. This is why they're in the final. So Stonewall onto itself, keeping the Kinu more tanky, so you're able to get off more and more Kinu buffs. I love it. So good stuff all around. For the next turn though, Zeuxo has no pressure.
Yeah. Now, the thing is that he can swap in Golder to just take whatever hit that's Saku's supposed to take. Force Saku in, and then bing bada boom, you got Tornado back. Golder actually gonna swap in for the Kinu, thinking that Kinu's gonna take all of that damage. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does so. HKS does come out, and the Golder will get picked off to do that. So perhaps actually reading exactly what was on the mind here of Rgisosceles, Toxic Ink is forced onto the Saku, and it removes regeneration, which is the big part. But Windburst comes in,
jeez,
going last as well. So completely reading that actually for the side of Zeuxo. So Kinu comes back in, and oh boy, +4/+4
yeah,
now.
guys, Monka S, it is real. It's getting very real. Rgisosceles starting very hot, but Zeuxo with the game plan buffed the Saku. Saku's my carry game plan, and it's working out pretty well. It's an air specialist Saku with a hand fan. So what is that? A total of 25 plus more additional wind pressure, and we're noticing it. We're noticing almost 60% off of a single wind burst. I could only imagine a tornado. But yeah, another wind burst takes care of it. And looking at the back line, Mashuk doesn't want to eat it. Just the biggest question, so Saku's the biggest problem for Rgisosceles. But now on the other hand, the biggest problem for Zeuxo, I want to say it is not ETE, aka Grumper. Nagai's can't do it. That is 4x damage heading straight to him, so can't do it with that. Of course, Nagai's Fury, that's double damage, but it's so risky having them on the same board. Kinu, of course, not going to do anything himself. And then Saku, I guess Toxic Spores, but Chamomile is on Grumper, so it's not going to be able to Toxic Spores for at least 4 turns.
The Grumper gonna get swapped in again with the grandpa here. Again, Kinu just being so obnoxious and revitalized, showing that Nature Temp very, very good at keeping themselves alive here. Just not enough damage, unfortunately, right now for Rgsosceles. I just don't see where his damage is coming from. Technically, if Rgsosceles could make it to turn 30, he wins it because he's an extra Tem. Yeah. But his team is not built for that kind of longevity. So
exactly, and we're only turn 9. There's so much turns. So then I think the game does get decided before then. But yeah, the Saku, we've been seeing it here time and time again. At +4 is almost indestructible when you take into account these lifeful saps that's able to deploy. It is super problematic. You need a fire Tem to really take care of those. So definitely that's something Rgisosceles is considering. I mean, you can't do anything right now, but you could try to kill everything else and then depend on Saku running out of stamina, and you take it for the long con. But there we go, that's the way. That's what we notice here. You used to do the same thing with Cerny. If you just hypnose the Cerny, if you let it rest, you let it do its thing, focus up on everything else, and then try to pray for the best in that end game.
Exactly. So Zeuxo, I mean, yeah, kill everything around the tank and then kill the tank itself is a solid strategy here. Kinu gonna take another HKS, but look at how strong this Kinu is. It just revitalizes and it's just back to full.
Wow. Oh,
Toxic
what,
Ink?
dude? Toxic Ink doing nothing, doing less than HKS. Let's take a look one more time. Yeah, no wonder. +4. That was 2 Stonewalls, of course. 2 Stonewalls will get the Kinu in that special place where not even effective techniques do enough for this guy. So these two, same idea with the whole stall comp. Nature Synergy, Revitalize, back and forth. Of course, this one has Lifeful Sap. This one's the one with Revitalize. So we'll see. I mean, even another set of attacks as Rgisosceles just did wouldn't even take down the Kinu from that position. Oh, that's pretty good damage.
Ooh.
And Jesus, Nagas just came onto the board and essentially dead, with Kinu not being able to come out right here right now in terms of a Revitalize. It's all said and done. I mean, you can put all the pressure onto Saku here, because 1 tick of poison, that is all you need. I'm trying to think if there's any way to get rid of it. I'm not seeing any. So yeah, Nagas came in for just a turn, already ready to say goodbye. So it comes down to the tail to take we've been saying this whole time. Is Saku gonna be doing the unthinkable, a reverse sweep? Or does Rgisosceles and his Tem advantage a bit too much of a tall task for his opponent? And yeah, big damage for Zeuxo.
And now you don't get the Urushiol burst as well. It doesn't exist anymore. You don't get the 4 ticks to deal with the Saku. Grandpa is dead. And it's up to Grumper and Mashuk against the Kinu Saku. This is incredibly grim here. Unless enough perfect jab. No, it's maximum defense as well. Tornado is gonna do enough damage to deal with the Mashuk. again, maybe if they're maybe if this if the Nidrasil was still alive, you can get Rgisosceles off and get the 4 ticks off. But I mean, Rgsosceles is struggling to kill a Kinu right now.
Exactly. I mean, I think Zeuxo did a fantastic job knowing what his win conditions were. Buff up the Saku A, and then buff up the one doing the buffing B, which was Kinu. So great stuff. Let's see how he's able to take care of it. Thunderstrike 37%. Down to, okay, about 20%. That's not that bad. One more of those will take care of Kinu. And there's a 2v1, you know. P-jab, P-jab, P-jab. But wait, no, Mashuk doesn't have that much time. A tornado windburst will take care of him. So it honestly comes down to how much damage this Grumper can do. But of course, the Revitalize, that is big. How did it go? Wait. How did it go back to 50%? That is gross. Wait a minute. It was at 16% and it went to 50%. Am I missing something, guys? That's a 30-something% increase?
I believe Revitalize heals you for 35% with synergy bonus.
Oh, okay. Does it? I thought it. Okay.
Yeah.
Word is above us, of course. But hey, good luck and have fun. Game number 4 of our finals. This has been a doozy, a long tournament. But it's almost all coming to conclusion. Thank you guys for still being here, finding out who's gonna be crowned champion. And let's see, it might get decided here if God has his way. If not, we're going to the very last match of the entire tournament. Let's see.
And I can see why this is the choice of Dibz on Momo here. Is this is I would say this is probably the most total wipe of the entire series at the moment. Again, that was mostly because the cap part got insta-gived and it just really went all downhill from there. God of Despair, unfortunately, couldn't really, show us what he could do, what he's capable of. So, at least for this matchup. So, God of Despair hoping that that'll be something different. So we go to a game 5, of course. And if we do go to a game 5, I have a sneaky suspicion we might be going back to the AA side, as that was probably the most ideal position for Tiki and their boys there.
Exactly. And yeah, the idea was to give a slight edge to that losing team, just like you do when you get to decide blue side or orange side. So I didn't want to be too advantageous, but I still wanted to kind of stay with the lock squad. But we'll see. We'll look at the rules again, try to make a little different, or we keep it. But yeah, same thing for God of Despair. Sapphire one more time. And it looks like Arkham going with the same thing too, I believe. Actually,
right.
No. Arkham had a Kinu. God of Despair banned the Kinu.
Yeah, so Kinu is banned instead of the electric fish, but now the electric fish has been picked up. Now, the big thing about electro fish here is that electro punch is probably not going to be the main the main DPS here. It's water cannon. Water cannon with talking synergy is ridiculously strong in this position. God of Despair, banning out the Surnif as well. Didn't want to deal with that, of course. No toxic, only has Sapphire. And the problem previously was that when he lost Sapphire, suddenly it was just a problem all the way through. So now I think trying to avoid reliance on that a little bit less. And I just realized actually there's no direct threat to Yowler. At least not right now. So ban on that was understandable.
There we go. Arkham caught wind of that as well. And yeah, so both nature temps taken care of, but Arkham still with the Wolfie, still with the Saku. And speaking of the big boy Yowler, Arkham does get his way and picks up the Yowler. That opening is gonna be, I would just want to touch. So Wolfie does effective damage onto Koiz. Koiz does effective damage onto Sapphire. And Sapphire would take a lot of damage onto Volrant, so a lot of pressure in that opener. I'm very curious who's going to flinch, who's going to stay put. I'm thinking God might have to retreat this Sapphire. A water cannon plus a feather gatling. That might be really close when you take into account those toxic ticks. So we'll see. I don't think we're going to be seeing a heat up as we saw in game number 2.
I'm not sure how much I love that Riken pick. I thought he was gonna Saku Wolfie here, for Arkham, and then we would have a some sort of that way he would be able to deal with potential last pick size munch, and also on top of that, the Wolfie is so good against Gaealis, right, with the Dust Vortex. So I'm not sure how much I love that Riken pick. So Wolfie's gonna be last pick. Saku is benched, but I don't know. I guess maybe he was concerned that the Electric Koish might get picked up, but the Electric Koish into Arkham's into a Saku into a Yowlar is just not gonna have fun either. So I'm not sure how much I like that Riken pick, but we'll see. Arkham Knight, a solid player, absolutely picks up the Sidesmunch still into this. Of course, Sidesmunch so good against Riken with that rock bottom. We'll see who takes it into the game 4.
That is right. Game number 4, as we said before, this could all be decided right here. If God of Despair has his way, if he plays it super sharp, outplays or outreads Arkham Knight, Tiki and the boys will be crowned our champion of our first ever Nidrasil Team Cup. But Arkham, one of the best players in Temtem, I believe, still in the top 10 leaderboard in terms of TMR, and has been that way for many months now. So Arkham, very smart guy, very competitive, and he's not gonna go down without a fight whatsoever. So yeah, very excited for this match. You know, the beautiful part about the best of 5, these guys get to play again. So, you know, they learned a lot from their first time going against each other. Let's see what kind of information they're going to use. I mean, one of the big ones that we said for last turn, I mean, God of the Spirit instantly banned the Kinu first. So, Sapphire, let's... Oh, yeah, big damage. So, definitely not Iridescence there.
Ventiletto as well trades on the Volrend, doesn't instantly kill. So now the attempted trade. This is the
This
plan.
might be big. This might be big. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking water cannon should be a lot.
There you go. Clears out and kills off the campfire.
Yeah. I don't know, Blue. Do you think that was worth? I don't know. I knew. I had a funny feeling that FG plus water cannon definitely takes care of the campfire. But was it worth? I mean, he did get about 50-40% on the Volrend, but you lose your Capfire. You know, I guess he kind of didn't need it for anything else. I mean, Wolfie not too good. Capfire not good against Wolfie Riken, not the best against Yowler. But hey, it is what it is. That's the decision God went with. I'm sure he thought about that clearly as well. But hey, 50% is 50%, halfway there. No way to recover HP. So we'll see.
Yeah, and this is so unfortunate. Is that God of Despair? Actually, I've realized a little bit more something here. Wolfie can trade off the Koish, and the big difference is that the Sidesmunch gets a free heat up here. There's no the Volrend isn't going to insta give the monkey, at least I don't think so. And again, the Koish for sure gonna get plagued here. And so the difference between this and the previous matchup with Arkham is that God of Despair actually
there we go.
Not only does Arkham have no way to deal with Sidesmunch now, or actually no, never mind. There's a Wolfie, but of course, you know, Sidesmunch can also one-shot the Wolfie, so it's not the greatest way to compare. So this is a bit rough here.
Yeah, so no heat up on the Capfire, but Sidesmunch also with heat up accessible to him, and does get the heat up off. So beautiful stuff. Didn't have to spend too much HP or get hit too hard there. But +2 Volrend, we saw how heavy an attack that HKS is, most likely coming out this turn. Could be looking at Monkey Howl here. A Plague and an HKS 100% will kill the Sidesmunch, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that can come back out, so Gialis or the Skunch, is going to be taking huge damage. So I'm not too sure what God can do, because those 3 moves, they're both 3 prio as well. It's going to be big damage. We're going to see it here, 100%.
Okay, Alice takes so much damage. Plague, though, gonna punish as well. And an important thing to note is now Sharp Stabs is potentially available for the Gaealis. as well. So Plague Trade doesn't kill, and that's big. Of course, doesn't get cage resistance is way too good.
And there we go, beautiful stuff from Arkham Knight. We knew if you double up in that spot, you either get a kill on Size Munch, or you do exactly this. You brought it down from 100 all the way to 10.5, 90 or 89.5% damage, which is huge. I mean, anything. This is a +3 speed. It didn't overexert the previous turn, so it could, you know, it's as good as dead right now. +3 speed, you're 100% going first. So a nice little simple FG to end this Rgisosceles time here on the board. Most likely might be the line of play. If not, if it wants to try to rest to save himself a turn, I think the Wolfie Plague will be ending up getting him, because -3 special defense, a bit too low, I believe. What is it, like 60% reduction? So we'll see. As you said, Blue, Sharp Stab is online, but the Volrin a little too fast, right? +3 speed.
Yep.
Exactly. So
yeah,
even with the crazy speed, of course. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for the most part, I think Scunch swapping is reasonable here. Plague on the Volar end, of course, just deal with it. And again, there's not really a way you deal with Size Munch. Aside from the Wolfie Plague. But if Wolfie doesn't one-shot Size Munch, then it's gonna have Rock Bottom available. The Scunch can still set up with it. It's having Suplex as well. It's gonna come down to a brawl, I think, at least for the most part.
Yeah, I think it was really good for God of Despair saving the Size Munch, because you're right, definitely going to come down to a brawl. Size Munch may be the best attempt to try to for sure take care of this Raiken, and does a good chunk of damage onto the Yowler. Scunch is going to have to do some heavy lifting against that Yowler too, as well as the Wolfie. So Scunch is there for the Wolfie. So these Tamers have answers at their waistline, but it's just about, you know, pulling the trigger at the right time, making those appropriate reads. And the biggest thing here for turn 4 is, I guess you just sack the Rgisosceles. I feel like, you know, you had to save the monkey, but I don't know, is a hook kick on a Rgisosceles worth saving over like taking damage on a Scunch? I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, Rgisosceles is gonna get sacked here for this, just for the sake of being able to have a full HP Scunch. And ooh, actually that's big, because then now the Plague goes into the Wolfie spot, and yeah, I mean, the Scunch can come in safely and just do some damage on the Wolfie now that it's trapped as well. The Plague Trade comes through, cages both Wolfies.
That's pretty good too, because if Raiken wants to come in, it avoids the Yowler swap for the Leno synergy. So it almost forces you to go Yowler here. You don't get any heavy hitting damage there. But yeah, you know what? Actually trying to read. Oh no. Wolfie didn't overexert. So yeah, I think you don't go Raiken, because he's most likely not going Size Munch, of course. There it is, the Scunch coming out for the first time. And the heavy hitting neutral Tems have hit the board. But what is better, our old school Scunch or the new school Yowler? Pretty similar, at the same time somewhat different. Obviously Yowler a bit tankier, but in terms of DPS, very, very similar.
If anything, this game has been way closer than the previous matchup these two have had. Of course, this is again because the backline for Arkham is just not as efficient as previously, especially with how that went with the Sapphire. But also, Arkham has to win this match to keep Dibz on Momo in the finals, ladies and gentlemen. So, Arkham, I think, well, the ball is in his court to pull this off, to bring it back, but now the gap is closing a little bit here. The Scunch is able to secure a kill on the Wolfie for sure, but it's all down to how much damage the Wolfie does. And look at that, 40% damage traded for the perfect jab. Doesn't instantly kill the Wolfie, which is a good sign, because then the clinch can follow up here and does some solid damage. Plague actually now kills the Scunch in the following turn, but that's what the Wolfie is for, at least for the God of Despair. He can swap into Size Munch now, and Savage Suplex is gonna sting, but if you get Plague Off, kill the Wolfie on the side of Arkham Knight or something along those lines, then you have 3 Temps to 2, and again, Riken still gonna struggle against Rock Bottom. It's gonna get one shot, or at least get very close to
This
dead.
is close. I feel like you saved Seismuch for the end. Yes, try to get off a final attack, and it survives!
No! It survives! That's so big, because now the Plague kills the Sconch, and now Seismuch is forced out. Dashi on the cards as well for the Yowlar.
But it still goes down, of course.
Yeah,
but this is huge. Out of here. Give us the new angle. They stole us. They stole us from the new angle. But you know what? I think Arkham, it's a 2v1 situation, but man, this is a heavy hitter. This is a heated up Seismuch. There's nowhere to run for Riken. Seismuch wreck rock bottom, as you always say. Blue is online for being on the turn, but you gotta deal with more than just Riken. You gotta deal with the Yowler as well. So let's see how much damage is able to do on the Yowler. Let's pay attention.
Has to do as much damage as possible. It's thrown down, one shot the Riken. No, it lives at 1.1% HP. The Riken survives, which means this is even worse than expected. The Seismuch also lives at 1.1% HP, so there was a chance, absolutely, for both sides to
Yeah, I think even if he killed Riken, Yowler still wins. I don't even think an uppercut or a Dimac would have done it. But man, Arkham with his TV spreads, man. I'm telling you, Arkham one of the smartest tamers around, surviving by the smallest margin multiple times in this match alone. And this is why he's taking the victory. But a lot of respect to God as well, playing it very well all the way down to the final tem.
So Zeuxo with the first ban takes down Luwali, which was pretty expected looking at these two teams. Luwali is a bit of a hard carry into some of, Calibus, Guldur, even Grumper and Turok and Naga. So absolutely Luwali first ban. Isosceles banning Cernif, doesn't want to deal with any stalling shenanigans today. But there's still a a Saku in there, so we may see something fun.
Definitely, and Cernif's definitely so strong against, the likes of Grumper, Turok, so I definitely understand Rgisosceles taking care. And like you said, Rawrzyyy, that salad stall shenanigans, so the revitalized stuff, take it out of the picture. And there he is. Let's see what Zeuxo wants to start off with. The Saku, obviously a very strong start. But what is he thinking of pairing it? I'm thinking, Calibus doesn't feel too bad for the Nagas, but you do have the Turok staring you down. And there it goes. That's a little bit, the other two part of that equation in Salad. So buffing up the Saku nice and early to get started in this match. Solid opening for both these tamers, I will say. None of them have like too much pressure on both sides, but still just solid tems all around.
Yeah, now a lot of options here for second bans. I would say on both sides. We do see Naga going down, taking that X for Zeuxo. Definitely, giving the opposite Deceit Aura effect of making fast tems go first. It's a very odd and unique idea. He was looking kind of between that Grumper, thinking I got a lot of wins. Don't necessarily want to fight a Grumper, but in the end, Naga's the bigger threat, as it often is. But now Zeuxo, where are you going? Do you want to knock down this Mushuk just because of the tank? Do you want maybe no Nidrasil? Toxic Ink is very dangerous.
Yeah, and you're right, he doesn't really have too much win tem except that Saku that he already picked up and the Turok right there. But Mushuk also pretty effective against Turok. Those melee attacks do tend to get the better of that Earth, but decides to go with the Nidrasil, which is also a toxic tem, so brings us back to that point of not having too much wind pressure. So fair enough, getting rid of that Nidrasil threat. But someone that does have a lot of win tems, Rgisosceles is picking up perhaps both win tems right here, right now. The Grandpa and not the Tuvine, but does go with the Grumper there. So both sides have the, according to Crema, the cutest tem in all the Temtem, if you guys saw their tweet earlier this week.
It's just a majestic unicorn.
Exactly.
I love it. But yeah, we do now have Turok and Guldur finishing off Zeuxo's side. Calibus left in the back, going for a little bit more tanky Toxic rather than attacking Toxic. as you know, Calavis often is built with a little bit more attack prowess. But now down to Mashuk or Tuvine. I think either way, you've got a pretty good deal going for you. Maybe Mashuk just barely edges it out for me, as there's only the two wind, the only two wind types, one of which is Feather Gatling, which Perrier loves to eat. So that would be my personal leaning, but always it's up
yeah,
to
of course.
these
I can see
players.
both sides. I mean, Mashuk pretty good against Turok and Grumper. Tuvine pretty good against, of course, the Kinu and the Golder. And a proper switch in from the Saku if you want to try to catch a tornado prediction there. So yeah, both valid points. I see why Rgisosceles is taking his time trying to think of the best possible way. Yeah, I see both. It's kind of a tough pick, as you're saying, but Arj's down to the final 10 seconds, has to make a decision, and does decide on that Mashuk. So here we go, ladies and gents. We waited a whole week. We had to postpone it, but this is it, the last game of the Nidrasil Cup. Everything, it was like a 7 or 8 hour tournament last week, and now it's finally gonna come to a conclusion. Dibz on Momo being represented by Rgisosceles, Tiki and the boys being represented by Zeuxo. Let's jump into it and see who is taking home the gold for the first ever Nidrasil Team Cup. Let's see what their options are for the very first turn.
All right, so very early on, we do of course see that baton pass on Kinu, as it is very often, healing itself back up for that protector damage that it takes. Now, there are some pretty good options here, especially in the Deceit Aura. Everybody decides to stay in, though, as Windburst comes towards Naga, doing quite a lot of damage. Followed up by a Madness buff, so it hurts itself even more right now, down already to 34%. I mean, depending on what happens, this Kinu might be able to do maybe enough. Well, I mean, it is the +2, so it's not going to kill right away, but 21% after turn 1 is a heck of a lot of damage to already have taken onto this Naga.
Yeah, definitely indeed. Already down about 80% or so. But the good thing here, it got the Madness buff out. So Madness buff gonna come in so clutch. Definitely against the future Turok, and Naga's Fury will most likely one-shot it. Grumper might take a huge, big chunk of damage as well from that. So yeah, I think he's good. He got the Madness buff, so you have to retreat it. I don't think it could stay in. Another double up, it will kind of go down without doing too much impact in this game. So what is he possibly thinking of switching out here? Let's see what he decided. All right.
Is Gramps, HKS, Speedy Boy Grandpa. Kinu, though, with the Stonewall, wants to start this beefy Saku tank early, but it is Noxious Bomb from Turok. He is running that toxic technique onto the Kinu, does so much damage, and Tornado onto Gramps won't do very much at all. Wind on wind and all.
Yeah, a nice little spice, the Noxious Bomb. I actually didn't see what Turok did in the first turn, but I don't think it was a Noxious Bomb turn 1, so Zeuxo perhaps not expecting that Noxious Bomb. And yeah, Noxious Bomb effective into both of Zuko's Tem currently on the board. And obviously aiming down the Kinu just so you can get one protector buff this whole game, and that is it. That's Rgisosceles' game plan. But Zeuxo finding his Kinu very low here, most likely going to be swapping out. And it kind of looks like Grumper feels okay here. Grumper against two Wind Tems. Of course, Turok doesn't take the most from it, but against a Grandpa, very effective. So we will see. It's a risk though, because Turok is also effective into Grumper, right, Rawrzyyy?
Yeah, it does have that stone ball that would be able to do some damage. And then, I mean, Grandpa here has a relatively free turbo choreography if he wanted to go that route, get to +2 speed, start some HKSs early. And that would do decent damage towards Grumper as well. I mean, HKS, it just gets to be so strong when you've got that max speed and speed buffs. That's definitely a way to do neutral damage to take out some of the tanks. Potentially even doing nice damage on Saku if he's able to get up to +5. But right now, I mean, Zeuxo, he will likely retreat that Kinu, as he doesn't want to lose out this early on, get one more buff, maybe even a sacrifice if he's running on that. But there's not too much damage pressure for Zeuxo. I think realistically we might be looking at a Toxic Spores towards Gramps or Turok. I think either of those options would be decent. And kind of like you mentioned, maybe Grumper, maybe even Turok coming in.
Yeah, I see both of those options being fairly decent as well. But you know, a good temp for Zeuxo right now, and you're seeing how he's prioritizing buffing it up from the get-go is that Saku. Rgisosceles doesn't really have too much direct answers. Yes, the Turok has a Noxious Bomb, but Saku has a little Lightful Sap. He's at +3 defense, so it's gonna be a lot of Noxious Bombs perhaps, and a bold move going Golder into 2 Wind Tems. It looks like it's paying off here, just doing a little damage here. But yeah, Golder not feeling too comfortable this following turn. A Grandpa and a Turok, both Wind Tems, so Feather Gatling, Hyperkinetic Strike will do a good chunk of damage. Of course, it is at base speed right now, so not as much as we're used to seeing from those heavy hitting Grandpa. Of course, Bully is not online since all the Temtems are still intact here in turn 4. But still, I think it was just a good swap in, eat some damage like we just saw. But I don't think it's staying in unless he wants to get some damage taken just to get out a good Toxic Ink on Grandpa. That doesn't seem terrible. But Golder will fall perhaps to like under 50%. Do you think it's a swap out here, Rawrzyyy? Or is Golder just going to try to brunt the pressure here?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the potential this was just a mind game, expecting the Hypnosis onto Saku, wanted to wait that out and just kind of get back to that alert turn. Yeah, he swaps in the Golder to take that Noxious Bomb, and now Grumper. I was almost thinking Turok if he was going for some wind techniques, but we shall see. I mean, Grumper with the electric typing definitely doesn't mind. But Grandpa Turbo Choreography, start those HKSs going strong. Turok with a Feather Gatling onto Grumper just in case. But of course, only 15% as Saku wakes up, joins the party once more, and maybe get some Toxic Spores going.
Yeah, that's as much. That's about the most damage that Saku could do on some of these Wind Temps here. So I think Toxic Spores little by little could do the job. I mean, Grandpa already around 70% or so, so just has to do about a little over 2. I mean, a Thunder Strike and Electric Storm, which is online from Grumper, plus 2 Toxic Spores will do the job, but it's gonna be a slow and steady race to do that. It would be about, what is that, 6 turns to get the job done. So definitely a couple turns to for Rgis to definitely bring things back onto Zeuxo. But yeah, as you said earlier, Stone Ball is effective, but take a look at the stamina, guys. Turok is pretty much all the way out. Can't even do a single attack without overexerting, so this is something Rgisosceles is considering here. Does he want to overexert? He doesn't have any kill potential, so it's not the most ideal in my opinion. So could be looking at a swap.
It might even be worth it to keep Turok in, take this rest, let your stamina build up a little bit more, and maybe, you know, next turn it would still be an overexertion, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad. You wouldn't be hurting yourself as much. And if we see something like E-Storm and that Toxic, I mean, I would imagine Grandpa is the target here. Absolutely. I mean, Grandpa has so much potential damage and so much weakness to this electric type that, you know, you just want to absolutely confirm the kill. And it's a pretty safe double in if he goes for those Toxic Spores, because it's one priority. So it's definitely, hopefully, going last compared to a normal priority move from Grumper. But instead, Zeuxo retreats Grumper for Turok on his own, maybe trying to predict a swap on Isosceles Turok, but everybody stays in. HKS comes through onto Turok, and that's going to do next to nothing on this earth and wind. Followed up by the Stone Ball, a huge overexertion, and just the Toxic Spores towards Gramps.
Yeah, so really good read from Zeuxo's corner here, eating that HKS quite well, eating up the Stone Wall a lot better than Grumper would have eaten it up. It still came at a cost though. It's still about 50% damage there, so not completely eating it up, but a lot better than the other Temps would have, of course. So well done for Zeuxo. But as you said, heavy overexertion, so Zeuxo only worried about a single Temtem for this round, and that is the Grandpa. Grandpa just hyperkinetic strike, so we know that's not coming out, but we saw it a little bit earlier. Hypnosis, most likely the likely technique to be coming out of Grandpa here, perhaps just on the good Osaku to prevent another toxic spores onto that left slot. But are just retreating the overexerted Tem, and now comes the Mashuk, his final pickup for his lineup. Let's see how much he's able to do.
Ooh, but potentially another read as Kinu swaps in to meet this melee type, buff up Saku even more. And now, I mean, even if we see Hypnosis, it's not going to accomplish as much. Hypnosis does come through for Saku. It is the right pick now, considering Kinu doesn't take naps. But toxic damage on Gramps once more, and a lot of pressure on this Mashuk already.
Definitely, and the biggest thing here, so yes, Kinu is a mental Tem, Mashuk is a melee Tem, so you theoretically have some damage output there. However, Grandpa, it has to be a sweatband. Yeah, I noticed that's a lot of stamina coming out from Grandpa with this sweatband here. +2 speed, HKS at this position with Kinu at 26%. I'm 99% certain this Kinu will be dropping down if it stays in. So not gonna be able to do much to this Mashuk. Mashuk here looking like a free turbo choreography if I ever seen one. Of course, you're pretty much Mashuk always usually faster than a Saku, so you don't want to P-jab a Saku to wake him up. But Kinu not trying to go out just yet, so maybe trying to read this HKS with the Grumper. Let's see if it's a thing. Okay, Rgisosceles keeping it safe with a simple Windburst.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Windburst would have been enough to kill in that situation. It was just a little bit out of range. It might have had, 10, 15 HP remaining. But definitely saving that hyperkinetic strike is potentially a very good move, depending on what's swapped. Maybe getting that HKS onto Gulder later on would be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense here. Of course, don't spend the HKS, spend it when you have that +4 speed, which is exactly how Grandpa's finding himself right now. Hypno is online again, but Saku does have that alert status effect. I don't know, maybe it's time for Grandpa to retreat. Unless he just wants to go try to get some damage HKS on Saku, but if Grumper stays in, which he most likely will, that might be killing the Grandpa right here. A good old Thunder Strike will get the better of the Grandpa. Of course, Mashuk could maybe uppercut, get some effective damage, but that's not enough for 75% here. So, Grandpa, I think it might be time. Let's look at the back line.
Yeah, I mean, even if Gramps decided to use Hypno on Grumper, those toxic spores is just going to keep on ticking away. So I think that Gramps does have to retreat, just like you mentioned. I mean, in the back, you're really just looking at Turok or not ETE, the Grumper that could potentially come in right now, because you don't want to swap Naga into any attacks at all, ever, in its current state.
Yeah, and he's saving that Naga for the Turok, perhaps for the Grumper, but Grumper usually tech to be slower, aka faster in Deceit Aura. So maybe not going to be working against the Grumper there, so maybe just saving it for that Turok potentially. Or just some good mental neutral damage on some of the other Tems as well. It is Madness buff, so it is going to be doing a handful of damage. But this turn right here might be a turning point for some of these. If Grandpa goes down, that is big. That is a sweatband target, so I see why these tamers are taking their time, because this is an impactful turn. Absolutely, what goes down in this turn could be deciding it, but not yet. So Grandpa does retreat, and as you said, Rawrzyyy, not ETE, so thunder on thunder damage. Let's see how it goes down if Zeuxo wanted to go that way.
I mean, of course, luckily, Chamomile on both the Grumpers, a perfect jab, though, is a nice way to start it off. Does 25%, I think, on the Grumper. Electric Storm not going to do very much either way now. And the Windburst, of course, is a lot of damage. Kind of surprised we didn't see a Tornado.
Yeah, huge damage. Maybe thinking saving the Tornado for this turn, perhaps, but that was big. I mean, Air Specialist, we said it at the beginning of the game, this Saku right here has just stood in place since turn 1, And yeah, we said it, he didn't have any direct answer. We did mention the Noxious Bomb, but at +4 defense, the Noxious Bomb I think will do maybe 10-15% at this position. So this Zaku, the biggest headache, the biggest hurdle for Rgisosceles to jump over. So we'll see. Rgisosceles, obviously him and his team got here for a reason. We'll see if he's able to overcome that challenge Zeuxo is presenting him. But yeah, as you said, Rawrzyyy, Mashuk now not feeling comfortable. I think that Windburst was just to kind of spook the Mashuk away. Just saying, you know, I'll Windburst you now. Look at the damage I'm doing here. I have a tornado waiting for you. So Mashuk, you could uppercut here. Grumper's at -1 defense. But that tornado most likely going first. Actually, no. It won't go first. It's a +2 speed Mashuk.
Yeah, I mean, Mashuk does stay in, goes for the perfect jab onto Grumper. Mud Shower in return towards not ETE does a lot of damage, but I have a feeling this Mud Shower hits just a tad bit harder as Grumper does fall down for the first death of the game, but not first for long as Mashuk, LR, Godden T, don't know how to pronounce that name. Mashuk meets his friend Grumper in the grave.
I think left, right, good night. Left, right, good night. I think Rgisosceles told me it was from a boxing term or from a boxer. Left, right, good night. The good old 1-2. But yeah, he's definitely calling it a good night. He's falling down. So 1 tem down each piece or each tamer. This is getting close here going into turn number 10. The grandpa coming back out, feeling comfortable since the Grumper was taken care of. So this Zaku just sitting pretty the whole time. I mean, does he have a sweatband? How much stamina does he have? Like, man, that's it. Zaku's been doing so much since the opening.
You know, he's got hand fan, but he has clicked toxic spores and he's had quite a few nap turns.
Exactly.
I mean,
right.
I don't think we've seen any tornadoes. It's just been those wind bursts, so he hasn't been using all of that much stamina intensive technique so far. But always, you know, that could change. Hypnosis, though. I'm surprised everybody stayed in again this time. Saku takes a nap. Revitalized from Kinu. Oh, now it's going to survive this Thunder Strike from Grumper very, very helpfully. Just about, yeah, a little bit over half of its remaining HP. Down to 25, so it does die if it stays in again. But that was a very nice play from Zeuxo.
Yeah, not too bad. Getting up the Kinu, pretty much letting him waste that Thunder Strike. It's not 2 wasted cores, 1 more does bring him down. But without that Revitalize, he would have fallen there. But now we go back to the same line of play we had a little bit of turns ago. HKS does get the better of him, and if Kinu swaps out, let's take a look. So it's either the 2 rock or the Golder. Mud Showers is not super effective into 2 rock, but it has to do a little damage. HKS at +4 will still do some decent damage, maybe 50% of the remaining health pool. So it doesn't seem like a bad play, but the Wind Burst almost enough for the Kinu.
That is kind of a shame for Gramps. He's not able to get the kill right away. He takes more damage, and now Saku can just have his way next turn if he'd like. I mean, Gramps does survive for 1 more HKS, but that's it.
Yeah, not too bad. I think the idea with leaving that Kinu in is just sacrifice it, you know, not literally with the technique sacrifice, but just allowing the Temtems in the back line to come out without taking any damage. So that was a good play for Zeuxo. And as you said, Rawrzyyy, Grandpa getting dangerously low. We don't have anything on the side of Rgisosceles' corner to heal him back up. There's no Revitalizes, there's no Cernies, there's no Kinus. So the health it has is the health is gonna have to play with for the remainder of this match. One thing, as I see being pointed out, Bully is online, so a little extra, I believe 30% additional damage coming out from this Grandpa. So a final hoorah, let's see how much it's doing. All right, so yeah, definitely over 50% of that remaining.
I am very surprised to see he stayed in there. I know it was kind of a hard situation. I mean, he does take Turok down with the Thunder Strike, but now, I mean, not ET is so low, and Doctor heals him just a little bit, but overexertion, he's going to survive the Toxic Spores, but just barely, and now, I mean, he won't be able to attack this coming turn. This this puts Isosceles in kind of a rough situation. I mean, you mentioned earlier Naga's reason for being picked in this game was to fight Turok and potentially Kinu. But now both of those threats are gone, and Naga is still not looking very pretty. Now against Gulder.
Yeah, Rgisosceles as it stands does have the Tem advantage, but one of them being Naga is definitely super low. Grumper overexerted last turn, so we'll just die without having to do anything or able to do anything from that next toxic tick. And yeah, Turok doing as much as he could. Let's look at the damage. So 93 down to 61, so pretty good damage there, about 30%. So 2 more of those. I think it might be enough for Gulder. We will see.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for Turok's sake, he does resist the damage that is coming through, but unluckily for Turok is those toxic ticks do hurt, and they're consistent, and they don't care about your typing. So Turok is on his way out pretty soon. Naga is threatened pretty heavily by Gulder, who is often spec'd to outspeed in this Deceit Aura realm, which would mean Naga goes down before he's able to accomplish anything this game.
Yeah, even with the Psy Surge online. Wait a minute, Metabolize. I'm not even too familiar. So regenerating Gulder, going with the toxic spores on the Nagas. I thought it was pretty straightforward toxic ink. But maybe Zeuxo going with a different line of play. Let's hope it doesn't cost him, because he was looking like he had it in the bag with just a simple toxic ink. But yeah, maybe he saw a different line of play. I mean, he's in the same position. Psy Surge was just used, so toxic ink could be deployed this turn, just like we thought it was the previous turn. And there it goes. I hope it was a little friendly banter, not too much of a, you know, hostile BM or anything like that.
You know, that actually, as much as I think it was meant to help Zeuxo and keep Gulder alive for longer, I think it actually hurt him in the end. As the Metabolize heal, letting Naga attack did more damage than Naga was able to heal, or than Gulder was able to heal.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, Turok, he's out of stamina. Noxious Bomb only does 15%. Tornado on a 21%. Turok, this might be enough on its own. It is indeed. That is fantastically played. Zeuxo and the Saku winning Nidcup.
And there we go, guys. People clap, people clap. I mean, it was just one match because all the matches were played last Saturday, but it